Entrepreneurs face a wide range of challenges during the early stages of a business venture. In the absence of proper guidance, these obstacles can quickly become overwhelming and lead to a higher chance of failure. Joining me today to unpack more on this and the importance of mentorship is Lebo Mosola-Mnjama, Talent Manager at Dariel Solutions. Lebo, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, women-led startups in South Africa receive 7% of capital revenue funding when starting. How can mentorship help underrepresented SME owners become investment ready?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and I must admit, it really is an issue when it comes to funding. And if you think about it, the bigger organizations struggle with funding as well, so how much more your startups, right? I think it's very important to think out of the box. So become financially literate. I think it's very important that if you are out there looking for funding, asking, pivotal people for funding, you need to understand how business operates. And a part of that is not just whatever technical abilities you are giving off to these people that you're asking them, to fund your business. You need to understand what it is for them. Like, what does it mean for them and their business? You need to be able to speak to their target market and their businesses and also who their customer base is. I think it's also very important when I touch on the financial literacy part, you need to understand how money operates. What's a revenue? What's profit? What is this particular individual putting their name and brand against? So it does take a lot of research. I think also you need to be accountable in going and doing the hard work behind the scenes. You need to make sure that you are speaking to the right people, you're networking. And I like what you said about guidance, because I think perhaps that's most important. Before you even get to how do I ask for funding, how do I get the right people in my corner, it's the right kind of guidance that you need. And that is why having a mentor is extremely important. Someone who's gone through that journey already, someone who's been successful at it, someone who can come to you and say, these are the errors and the mistakes I made when I was in your position. So you need to find the right guidance, but also the network, the people that you're engaged with. Who are you engaging with? You need to engage with people that are of a higher level than yourself, because that's where eventually you want to get to. And then by constructing like proper, confident conversations, you are able to approach people with funding. You've done the research. You've done information about their organization and who their customer base is. You know them just as well as what you are trying to sell them. That fosters a little bit of more, I would say, confidence in someone listening to you to say, oh, okay, maybe it's worth it. Let me investigate a little bit further. Maybe this is an initiative that I want to fund.
And just speaking on that mentorship, studies show that SMEs that have been mentored grow revenue at about 83%, and as opposed to those that haven't been mentored that just grow about 16%. That's a huge gap.
Yes.
What is your perspective on this?
I think I love stats, because stats are facts. And I think facts are very good for you to learn from. And just going back to what I've mentioned, going to people who have gone through the journey that you want to go through is critical. It's important, because you don't know what you don't know. You need to start speaking to people who know a little bit more than you. I never take offense to being not the smartest person in the room. I love not being the smartest person in the room, because I'm always gaining to learn from the people around me. That's the kind of situation you need to put yourself in. And it does take a little bit of putting yourself out there. You don't always have mentors going to people saying, hey, I would like an opportunity to mentor you. You often have to be the one to say, look, there are gaps in my skill. There's gaps in how I want to elevate and sort of, grow in my career. I need to look at someone who's gone through a journey that I aspire to, and go to those people and ask those people, hey, do you ever do mentorship? I like you for A, B, C, and D reasons. I think I stand an opportunity to learn from you in these ways. Please, can you be open to mentoring me? It's a two-way conversation. Also, do your research on the prospective mentors that you would like. Write the characteristics of a mentor down. What are the characteristics of a mentor? That's how we do it at Dariel. So it has to be very intentional. Right, it's not as easy as placing one person with this person. Hey, you want a mentor? Oh, I want to be a mentee, and then you just put those people together. It's actually not fair sometimes, because maybe they don't align. Maybe the things that they want and they want to achieve don't align. So you need to ask the right questions to your prospective mentor to say, these are the characteristics of a mentor that I would like. These are the kind of things that I want to achieve through a mentorship program. And you need to make it sort of structured. You know, it needs to have an end date. It needs to have a start date. It needs to have sort of like a structure as to how often are we meeting? What sort of things are we doing? Do we grab coffee? Is that enough? Or when you go to like a business related talk or an indaba, IT indaba, do I tag along? Can I tag along? I want to hear you converse with people that are like you. And the more you surround yourself in those spaces, the more those stats will change. They'll begin to change. But it does take a certain level of proactiveness. But I certainly believe that someone who isn't mentored versus someone who is, there is a distinct difference. You can tell.
And just speaking about that distinct difference, many SMEs can't afford to actually get that mentorship. How do we bridge that gap then?
So mentorship doesn't have to be overly complicated. It doesn't have to be something that an organization necessarily puts a lot of money in. Use your current business plans or your current whatever tools and skills that you've got inside your organization. Build a mentorship program around that. You know, let's not make it overcomplicated. The more you complicate something, the less people want to do it. So try and break it down. You know, start finding people who are interested in being mentors. Try finding people who have got that innate sort of desire to want to teach people. People who, have grown up wanting to invest in other people. Those are the people that you target to want to be mentors. There's a lot of people who want to be mentored, so that is not your problem. Your issue is actually trying to find capable mentors within your organization, within your business. Look at your people that are probably your highest performers. Look at individuals who are all-rounders. Those are the people that you want to target. That maybe there's a lot of people who want to learn how you got to where you are. And I think another thing about mentorship is that it's not always technical. It's not about the technical skill. You know, you can go to a university and get a degree for the technical skill. You can enter into a workforce, and the years that you're going into a workforce will allow you to have more technical abilities. It's the softer skills that people often don't understand why mentorship is important. You need someone to be able to tell you how to command a room. You need to be able to teach someone how to gain confidence, especially with women in male-dominated areas. How do you walk into a boardroom and command that confidence? How do you have an opinion, but the way that you sort of like interact with the people in the room, they trust your opinion. They don't need to go and investigate it. Just based off how you delivered what you're delivering, people in the room, they believe you. That's what mentorship can teach you, especially women in leadership. There's a huge gap in women in leadership, right? And I think that is one of the targets that I'm particularly passionate about. How do I get women more confident in what they know? Because women know a lot, but how do you then walk into a boardroom full of capable men and stand your ground? That's another very key thing that mentorship can help you with.
Well, Lebo, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
And I like that you mentioned that you do not have to be the smartest person in the room. You're there to also learn.
100%.
Great having you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
That was Lebo Mosola-Mnjama, Talent Manager at Dariel Solutions. Until next time, goodbye.